Man, I'm gonna like carpal tunnel trying to reach over and hit this control 7. I obviously don't use hotkeys for playing the game that well either, because best of 7s are not something we typically do, and we're gonna do a best of 9 for that grand finish. Talk more about it in a moment, but you guys are tuning into Game 1 here in the semifinals for the TING Open. Foreigner versus Foreigner hype guarantees one Foreigner in that finals. There's a lot of money on the line for this too, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Spawning in the bottom right, and he's getting scouted early. It's going to be the Red Zerg player, Team Liquid Snute.
In the top left, as the Team Liquid Protoss, he's MaNa.
This is pretty cool, by the way. MaNa is the only... We had a severe lack of Protoss representation in this tournament in the first place. MaNa didn't even win his qualifier to get here. He was invited back on merit of, I guess, strength, however you want to phrase that. And he managed to fight tooth and nail to get here. Now, his first group was against Nurchio, Marine Lord, and Lily Canine. A little bit weird. Second group in that round of 16, he did have Snute in his group. And I had to tab out to check and see, and I was pretty sure they didn't. And no, they never fought each other. So this is, in the entire tournament, the first time they actually fight one another.
Good deal. Same thing that happened in the last best of 7 that we had. Now, that last best of 7 ended up going 4-1 in favor of Rogue. A little surprising. I would have thought at least a 4-2.
Spoilers!
Yeah, sorry about that. I would have expected at least a 4-2, and that's, I guess, Rogue was just on point. Gumiho looked a little off. There wasn't really the same aggression that was hitting all those key points that we see from Gumiho on his best day, I suppose. Everything just seemed like it was 30 seconds too late, or 30 seconds too early, or any variety of that. Now, MaNa versus Snute, I would give this to Snute, but MaNa is it's just been a surprise, like every single time. It's not necessarily because MaNa is a foreigner or anything like that. It's actually a lot for me because MaNa's Protoss, and Protoss has been having a tough time recently, but he's been making it work.
Well, actually, the one thing that's impressed me most about MaNa is seeing how much he's been willing to diversify and change up his builds in this tournament. You know, he's gone from the pylons hugging the ramp to do some abuse versus Terran to doing Dark Templar to play straight up macro. He beat reality with no cheese. He beat one of the best Korean Terran players with his own macro. I mean, yeah. MaNa has played a lot of different ways in this tournament. They've all been very, very respectable. Snute as well, of course, not to undercut him here. But a couple things to get into the base. Maybe a little bit annoying for MaNa to deal with.
So that's actually not a lot of probes in here, of course, because they were transferred over to the gold base. But now MaNa, yesterday, after he beat reality, he said his macro is good, my micro is just better. And that's, I don't know, I thought his macro was pretty good too, to keep up with reality, but he's been quite humble about the win so far. And then he's mentioned that he's sick, and I know someone already made the joke, like, if this is how you play when you're sick, you should be sick more often.
Yeah.
So maybe it's still a good day for MaNa.
By the way, since we are on a map with a lot of gold income, we were talking about money, let's talk about the pricing at this point. We do have a Dark Shrine on the way. These players at this point are guaranteed to walk away from this tournament with no less than $400. Everybody at this point has made $400. That's awesome. Taking that one step further, though, the winner of this best of 7 is going to be eligible for the bare minimum of $1,300. So again, essentially a $900 best of 7. Each of these games worth a little over $100 each, considering each win versus loss. And of course, that grand place finish of $2,500 is the sweetest deal. It's half the prize pool, and it's what everyone's going to be shooting for. But it is, again, it's worth noting that this is where all the money really comes into play. We've had a month and a half of playing where we haven't even really touched base on the prize pool because it's only really come into effect now and recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been such a long journey to get here for everyone. Now, I'm thinking that for more than a few players, especially if they're able to get out of that winner, the qualifiers in the winners section, they're just looking at it as like games. But some of the people that have been in this tournament had to stay up until 4 a.m. Bly had to stay up until 6 a.m. to play his games. And that's just, it's too bad they weren't actually in the money quite yet. These guys, of course, perfectly timed for them, starting at a nice early 7 o'clock or something like that for them. Of course, afternoon for us, and morning for you, I suppose.
I was going to say, for you, I'm still sitting at 7 o'clock, but it's like the wrong 7 o'clock. It's 8:30 a.m. here on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And of course, daylight savings messing with everything. Now, Dark Templars are certainly something to be annoying, and they can win games in cheesy situations and all that goodness. But MaNa has actually been using Dark Templar in a lot of ways that were not just, okay, killed a couple of drones. I'm actually, he's been investing in things like Archons and such.
Yeah, more often we've been seeing this single DT. It seems so bizarre because, like, you know, if you're gonna try and hide a Dark Shrine, which most of the case you are gonna try and hide it, why not just invest in a 3 Dark Templars and try and really surprise your opponent? Wouldn't have worked here, and that's like one of the reasons is that if Snute just an Overseer and 3 DTs walked in, that's a huge waste of gas and minerals, as opposed to just a minor waste of gas and minerals with 1 DT, and then the promise and threats of further DTs as the game goes on. And that's something that Snute is going to have to worry about with, you know, Queens and his mineral lines and Spore Crawlers as well. But he is still sending his roaches over. He takes the 4th as his gold. Hey,
actually,
guess who else did this?
MaNa, yeah, MaNa had that gold problem that one game, but this time Snute with the addiction crushes these up with his credit card. All fine, just gold minerals. Now, the question here really does come into effect. Can he use this base, though? It is so far away and exposed, and this creates a very clear line of attack for MaNa to keep going from the north and not from the south. But, of course, MaNa doesn't know about this just yet. So he's going to maneuver. He doesn't blink Stalkers. It's not bad. You can certainly maneuver through Corrosive Biles, and
yeah,
there's not a lot to stop him right now.
They didn't really talk about the blink because the highlight was originally on the Dark Templar and then on this gold base. But getting blink first is you know, if we saw this, we usually would see, like, disruptors, for instance, from, I think, Naniwa was utilizing that type of strategy. But MaNa just goes for them as the aggressive front, and then does go into the more familiar composition of Immortal Charge, and getting that double robo, too. I mean, you can be broken if they're going to go for a Roach Ravager swell. This could be a very dangerous way to play, and your third's going to get broken because your DTs didn't do any damage. But everything has been going, like, flawlessly for, well, almost flawlessly, for both players. I am pretty scared, though, that Snute has 3 gold bases, and MaNa only has, well, 2, I guess.
Yeah,
but
he's starting to get his robo production up, too. He's going to have double Immortals, but Snute's already on his way to Lurkers as well. A little bit funny because it's been a while since we've actually cast any match with Lurker. But something to definitely worry about. There's also Hive, so I mean, Vipers are going to be absolutely fantastic additions to anything that Snute throws into this. Mothership Core is actually a great scout because there's nothing that can really deal with it, but it's out of juice pretty much. It's got almost another overcharge in it. Force Field's got to come down. They're going to help a little bit here, but Crucibles are going to land on top of that Immortal. Barrier does get popped, but the Lings are already surrounding it. Force Fields to protect the Immortal. Not a bad choice, but the Sentry gets sniped. And MaNa just doesn't feel like he's going to have the numbers to deal with this. You know?
Well, the Ling is primarily the fodder. The Roaches could go down quickly to this other Immortal is popping out. 2 more Immortals are about to pop out, too. I think he just barely... Oh, that sucks. That really sucks. We definitely rebuild that. He barely has enough to make this work, but of course Snute is on those 4 bases. He has a follow-up. He's a little supply blocks right now, but his upgrades are about to finish, something that MaNa has not yet started.
Ooh, charge lots are actually going to be really great for defending this. And while he does actually push it up and clean, or push it back, excuse me, and clean it up, it's the fact that Snute wasn't relying on this. No, he had a plan B. Lurker Den's almost finished. Lots of hide just been made. You talked about the goal. We look at the income graph, and hot damn, Snute. Calm down, man.
Jesus. Yeah. That's quite bad. I was kind of hoping that MaNa would go for the other gold base and make this like almost like it was going to be set up for a split map in the like right down the center, but that's a little more difficult for the Protoss, of course. They do not have the speedy units, even with Blink Stalkers, so taking the regular 4th base is unfortunately his slot in life. This CT is... it would be great if it would go to that 4th base, the gold, but there's a Spinecrawler and a Spore Crawler anyway, and he just doesn't know about it. And
does he
seeing how late this 4th base, you might be thinking like, oh, I'm doing fantastic, but you're not.
Yeah, like in his eyes right now, there may be that arrogance of, oh, Snute threw way too much. Oh, the whole fire!
The whole position!
We don't see a lot of people use this, but this is so sick. He blinks away to retreat, but it's only into Morse Lurker Fire. Oh, Snute, you clever dog!
Last second micro though to actually split across from the Lurker spikes, but
that was cool.
Yeah, that was pretty clever. Now he's alerted to Lurkers, so he shouldn't be making that mistake again. If you're getting, of course, detection as well. Where are those observers? No Oracle because he didn't open up Stargate, so he's getting one now.
But it might be a little delayed. Cannon's coming down to be the best form of
But
detection. Unless Snute just move commands all of his Lurkers. Now there's no Lurkers. There's Roaches and Hydras. This is still a formidable army, but there's so many Immortals out. I think MaNa can hold on to this.
Yeah, their barriers were not popped yet. That's where the Lurkers also would have come in. Now they've all been popped. That's actually it for the barriers, but they got rid of the Roach, and now the Hydras are easy.
This is the story of MaNa every time we see him, though. He fights with a very small army supply, and he fights incredibly well. And the question really goes, like, if he has a decent army supply to match his opponent, would he fight even better or more complacent? Because it is that kind of necessity of direness where you're like, oh shit, I've got nothing to work with. I gotta keep every unit alive, that much more importantly. And MaNa has been doing, like, not just today, like, citing his last 3 series that we've cast throughout this tournament. That's always been the case for him.
It's like, you know, the last fatal throws of a Terran with 2 medevac drops.
Yeah.
They're using all their bases.
Like
Like, they're gonna
Saiyan.
like micro those like a god, but it's not gonna win them a game. But this case, MaNa does still have, of course, 4 bases and a
Storm.
decent army. He does have Storm, but he has to wait for the energy a little bit more.
It's like 3 seconds. Oh, don't lose the temple. Like 2 seconds. Ugh.
He's gonna have 3 Storms. That should be enough. This is mostly Ling Hydra, not a lot of roaches, and of course those Immortals are gonna bust through those anyways. Want to get that money shots? Gets a good one, yeah. But the lack of charge lots. Oh, he realizes the Overseer's not here. He warps into 2 DTs.
Nicely done.
That's gonna do a lot of damage.
Looks like he will push this back one more time, and Snute, you know, he's bleeding away and throwing away so much, but the resources lost at the end of the day are kind of even. That gold base, as hype as it is, it's not that great considering the natural base is mined out. This base is mining out. Like, this base for Snute's the greatest asset he has, in my opinion. But this has gotten to the point now where MaNa, it sounds so crazy. We always talk about the adrenaline rush that's provided through these golds. That was Snute's early game pressure. MaNa's getting a better chance as time goes on, but it's still going to be rough. He's not got a great army standing. There's no Colossus. There's limited Storms, and this is a lot of Hydras. More Lurkers on the way. Snute, he's been taking bad engagements, but his money has been keeping him ahead.
Oh, he finally finds his space. Thank God. But yeah, you look at the income, not the income graph, but the actual income, and you know it's a difference of 200 minerals. Like, MaNa is not so far behind, but also not doing so well considering that Snute is running out of his own gold bases here. The Lurkers get burrowed underneath, behind the army, makes it a lot more complicated as it's now a surround on MaNa's army. There's no more splash. This might just be it for MaNa.
Yeah, that's probably the new game. Sorry for that really loud sound, guys. Windows 10 is so cool. Best operating system of all time. GG. System sounds are muted, but still loud as hell. Alright, that is, of course, just the first game, though, in a best of 7. We got plenty more where this came from. So what is the next map?
No, he said it was the Alt-Tab bug. So there's a couple of Alt-Tab bugs, actually. There's the sound tab bug. And then there's the, where it stops using hotkeys. You can fix that in-game, but he already missed his drone, so...
I hate that one. That's like... Nothing puts me more on tilt when you're like, cool, I thought I built an SCV, I've got 100 minerals, what's going on? Like...
Yeah, exactly.
But okay, ladies and gentlemen, different spawn locations, but still across, nonetheless, so not that big of a restart. Spawning here on the bottom left side of Leerlac Crest, it's going to be the red Team Liquid player, the Zerg Snute.
And it's top right as the blue Protoss, he's Liquid MaNa.
And of course, quick shout outs to the sponsors of the event, TING. Make sure to check out bttv.ting.com. Not only does it let them know that you came from this tournament, but it's a good way to claim $25 in credit if you're associated with TING. Actually, the best part too is, again, if you guys have signed up for this, like, okay, there's the whole saving esports element of it, right? Like, that's cool. You know, we get another tournament, we get more money to do another tournament, all this great stuff. But at the end of the day, I think us, combined with Ting, we just want you guys to save some money. So the whole point of them getting involved with esports was they really truly best benefit people who are on Wi-Fi all the time, and that's people who watch Twitch. So make sure to check them out. And if they're not good for you, don't use them. But if they are, take a look.
I forgot that it is a Sunday, so we actually have hopefully a lot of United States people.
No, because it's Sunday morning and all the good people should be in church.
Please no. Please God no. All the good people should be sleeping and waiting till later to catch the rebroadcast or what have you.
All the sane people should be sleeping.
God, I'm so glad I never had to go to church. I had to sometimes, but ugh.
So a little bit of a Rifkin story. I never at any point in my life think I would consider myself religious. And I'm not an atheist, guys. This is not like, oh my God, like religious people are stupid.
Lady.
But I did... Mary. Memories. Ooh. Anyways, when I was little, though, I did go to Sunday school because, frankly, that's just where all the other kids were. And I think it was an easy way for my parents to just dump me off for free babysitting type thing. So, you know, they teach you about David and Goliath and the stories of the Bible and all that. I just remember, though, the entire time thinking, like, there's these kids. I remember this whole thing where they were comparing Bibles, like dick sizes. Like, oh, my Bible's got the gold-pleated pages. Yours is only a normal paperback, I see.
Wow.
Like, hard front versus back front. I'm just like... Of course, at the time, I'm too young to really understand just how douchebaggy this is. But the memory of it now always is just kind of like daunting for me. Where I'm like, I know not everybody who goes to church is like that, but that's what I have from my experience.
That's that was CCD for me. It's just like Sunday school, I suppose, and they actually gave you Bibles and textbooks.
So you've actually said this several times. I have no idea what's CCD shorts for.
I don't know. I've never figured it out.
Wait, you said what? What?
I'm serious. Like, CCD. Hold on.
Catholic
Sunday
Coordination
School.
District.
What does it stand for? Confraternity of Christian Doctrine. Okay.
Okay. Well, cool, Zombie. You were really bad at being.
Stands for yeah. Wow. Well, like they didn't care to teach us. I am almost positive. I mean, I started really not caring about CCD after I realized that my grades actually did not matter in it, but I'm pretty sure I never heard that. Anyways, we actually have something really important going on in this game.
Overlord
not
speed.
Jesus related. Yeah, Overlord speed with an Evo chamber.
Well, it might be Jesus related. MaNa gets dropped, and he's like, "Oh Jesus, I didn't see
Save
that
me,
coming."
Jesus.
Save me, Jesus. Michael rowed the boat ashore.
So it's just something that is done a lot on Laralac Crest. It's actually been a while ever since we've seen it, specifically with the drops. We've seen a couple of attempts to break the wall versus Naniwa specifically, and just remember that because Naniwa did a great job stopping the wall from being broken.
Yes,
but it's those drops that complicate it.
He also did that really cool adept transfer thing we've never seen anyone else do, but MaNa is going to have to deal with a front wall attack and that back wall attack. So it's like the sneak attacks around on the Nexus. Unfortunately, if you pull what little units you have as a Protoss player, MaNa delayed his Mothership Core in favor of getting the robot a little bit sooner. Rocks start getting torn down. He's not even going to go for the Nexus at 30. He's just go straight to the main. So the Mothership Core is actually here and in position, but there's no pylons by the mineral line. So just damage from the Adepts and Sentries is going to be enough. This does abandon that front line, and MaNa does fully wall this off. But how long can he hold on? He can't really afford to lose the Robo.
God, this is pretty important. He's gonna warp in a couple of sentries to force field. If he
doesn't force
fields and misses it,
this isn't good.
No.
This isn't good. Force field goes into the middle line. Whole position on Snute. Meanwhile, the Rocks were still. He stopped attacking them for some reason. I'm not sure. We'll get to that donation in a minute. Shout out to whoever it was. But Snute does clear out the natural, but doesn't claim a lot of kills with this attack so far.
Yeah, 6 kills isn't that bad. The main was taken care of by 2 sentries and an adept. The natural taken care of by these sentries, although 1 sentry going down is quite expensive. The third base going down, would love the option to cancel that, but of course would love the option to also save it.
I almost wonder if
I just look it's gonna happen.
I almost wonder if it would have been more devastating for Snute to take out that Robo than anything else. Regardless, looks like this base might go down. Picks up the Lings, takes him to the main. That's kind of sneaky. That's kind of cheeky. Gonna meet up with the other Lings he's got running around the naturals. 3 Queens coming to the fight, and they're gonna say hello, Mothership Core. There's a lot of transfuses on this too. Snute is gonna have
Damn.
a hell of a time here.
What's so funny is that this is the tail end of the attack. Like these Queens are the reinforcements, and then they're gonna leave. They're gonna die. Okay, they're gonna leave.
That probe attack upwards, by the way, looked really buggy, but hella cool. They're not going to leave, though. They just go to a better spot in the mineral line where they can't get surrounded. Transfuse is going down. Micro on the Queens. There's nothing to shoot up, so the Overlord acting like a warp prism in this instance. Triple transfuses, refresh everything. I mean, for Snute, the question really goes into, like, where are the extra Lings? Where was that knockdown to the third? This all-in, it doesn't feel like it worked. It didn't kill many probes. It killed some, don't get me wrong. But
15 is not bad. 16 still
but
still
it's
growing.
A third base.
Yeah, no, it's really good that he has a third base. Like that is the key difference of most of these all-ins is that it's versus a 2-base person who's getting all confuddled and confused. So a third base is absolutely fantastic for MaNa, who have triple pro production, also just better saturation. But Snute's, especially behind that Queen attack, was droning pretty hard. So he gets his own 4th base here, a base up where opponents is where you want to be. Actually going for a Spire. Oh no, that might be the wrong decision. We'll see how that works out. MaNa is going into a double Stargate, just right off the bats. But
well, we got a hella trolling come down by a donation, so I guess we'll get caught up in this as the game does calm down for a moment. Clippy the office assistant donates $5. Says, "Hi, I'm Clippy, your Windows 10 office assistant. It looks like you're trying to mute system sounds. Would you like me to ignore that and blow your speakers out? Nerf users." I mean, thanks, Clippy. Yeah, it's funny because that's already happened. I actually don't need your assistance. That's already how it's going down.
Well, I just noticed, like you can't predict the future.
Remember W10? I'm assuming that's Windows 10. $5 and says, I hope you haven't forgotten that we're offering you a free upgrade for your latest services. We appreciate your feedback and are looking forward to continue having you as our customer. Windows 10.
I love the donations, and I love RGK Tiamat's, Rifkin's Bibles, and Economicon.
Wait, what? I didn't actually see that one.
It's not a donation, it's a chat thing.
Oh, in chat. Okay. So see, the last donation we got was from Windows 10 and donated $5 and says, do you have a minute to talk about our savior Skynet? Oh, don't even joke.
Oh, shit.
So I'm going to tell you this. I'm not an overly paranoid or like superstitious person, but I do get ridiculous about some things, and Skynet's like something I actually gonna get worried about might happen one day. So maybe calm down a little bit there, Windows 10. Okay. Like,
oh my god, I have to tell you about Tomb Raider, but after this game, because this game is getting pretty heated and pretty
yes,
interesting.
And here comes the Warp Prism.
Yeah, Snute is up to 73 drones on 4 bases. He actually got to a perfect macro count, but so did MaNa. Like, MaNa really quickly recovered from losing his probes on 3 bases, and he had the correct answer to what Snute was following us up with. So that really makes me wonder if maybe Snute has done this before, or he's seen it before, or someone told him about it. Like, they are teammates after all. It could have been many different things, but to actually have that perfect counter to at least stop Snute from thinking about investing into Aspire, into more mutas, is really nice. Now, Snute, with so much macro going on, does have the option not to commit to the Spire.
He doesn't know. So surprise, that's a lot of Phoenix.
But
just
luckily,
pounce. Oh, that's it.
He wasn't.
Oh my god.
I mean, all the mutas die, and that was really easy. And the Phoenixes are not going to be useless after this. But luckily, he wasn't committing to more mutas that were just going to die as well.
Yeah.
If he was, he would have started adding corruptors, and we would be talking about the the mass air war that sometimes goes down. But he was already transitioning into the infestation pit even before we ran into those Phoenixes.
Well,
I mean, it's a little funky right now because he is only on Roach Ravager for ground units. But
what's kind of interesting is the Phoenixes do, as we see,
holy shit, that's too many drones.
You got to replace the ones that are going to die preemptively, right? I mean, the Phoenixes are limited by their energy, so they are limited on what's going to go down. I was going to say, the Ravagers aren't bad, though, because he does have Infestors coming. He doesn't have Pathogen Glands, however, but if he gets a Fungal, Corrosive Bile will kill all the Phoenixes, no question about it. But it's not just Phoenixes. Here comes the Zealot attack, and while Snute was hoping to get a little bit more macro out of this, and you go, holy shit, drones, and I agree, because right now he's got no units to fight with. Anything that tries to leave the main to defend this base is going to get Graviton Beam.
MaNa is doing fantastic. I mean, shutting down the mutas so quickly, Snute thinking they had more time.
This Zealot attack
it's
unprecedented, it's unpredicted, and that's what makes it so strong. Mothership Core is going to go down. That kind of sucks. Yeah. But he kills the base with relative ease. The Infestors spawned over here. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, they didn't have enough energy anyways for Fungals, so they needed more time. Snute in general needed more time. This is the perfect attack from MaNa, and MaNa just makes it look silly, even after losing a decent amount of probes in the early game.
He's just chilling on top of Spore Crawlers. Like, that's how far ahead he is with these Phoenix. Like, doesn't really matter. Zealot's going to start just cleaning everything up. The Phoenixes don't even have to kill. They are killing, but they don't even have to. They can just crowd control, and the Zealots will go ham on everything else.
Damn. This is a good game for MaNa.
This was an excellent game because he had that really weird attack come his way, and I guarantee you, Snute, that wasn't trolling or anything. That's an attack that works. GG. MaNa will tie up the series 1-1. Very nicely done. But okay, before we hop into Game 3, we are going to take a small break. Again, we'll keep the ones like in between like this shorter, so just a small word from Ting. We'll play the one about their customers, I think, for this one. And once we're back, we'll get into that next game ASAP. So thank you guys for watching. More of the Ting Open, Snute versus MaNa, when we return. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Game number 3 here for the semifinals. Quick reminder that this is a best of 7. There's a difference of $900 between winning and losing this match. And, of course, that grand final spot on Wednesday. Spawning in the bottom left side of Dust Towers, though, we got the blue Protoss. It's Team Liquid's MaNa.
In the top right, as the red Zerg, he's Liquid's Snute.
So, again, just kind of talk about this. We mentioned this to both Snute and MaNa yesterday. Made sure they knew before we even played the games today about our Rogue's situation should he win. And we talked to the sponsors. To be honest, Ting's pretty cool. They're very lenient. They let us push that back a little bit. It was kind of hard to get that done, though, because we did have the original scheduled finish date. But so, yeah, 16th, Wednesday, will be the date of the finals. So the winner of this will play Rogue then. It'll be a best of 9. The whole day will be a bit of a blowout. And we're going to even have a show match of me versus the sponsor, Jesse. And Zombigrub's going to be giving him a little bit of coaching on the side as well. So that'll be, that'll be an interesting... Don't embarrass yourself, Rifkin Day. But yeah, so for this game, MaNa gets back here really quick to check. This is a very common tactic Zerg players are doing on Dusk Towers. You got the third base taken as your natural. I think if you're playing a player who's not too conventional for scouting, this is something that really can mess with them. But MaNa is somebody who, in every series we've cast, Terran, Protoss, Zerg, doesn't matter. Well, actually, I don't think there were any PvPs in this tournament. He's been very diligent about continually scouting early.
You know, that's how he lost in the qualifiers, so not entirely true.
Ah, that's right, that really cheesy game. I forgot about that.
Yeah, MaNa's actually, he started off this entire tournament in the qualifiers, even if he didn't win the qualifiers, he's invited back by being a surprisingly cheesy little, you know what, like, but yeah, still getting beat out by other people's cheese, other Protoss' cheese. And he was, you know, even cheesy against Terran, not so cheesy against Zerg. I feel like that the option, it used to be, like, Protoss all-ins, Zergs are crying about it left and right, but nowadays, I feel like they're getting away with less and less, and it is just about getting those correct timings and just correct pressure points, basically, to stop the Zerg player from rolling and snowballing out of control. Like last game, like if MaNa had waited another minute, maybe he had an upgrade in mind that he was going to finish or something like that, then he probably would have run into a huge army of Roach Ravager and Fester and would have died. Maybe even Hydralisk, I don't know. Snute was pretty close to transitioning out from that Spire, which was ended up being a really bad choice. But he didn't. He attacked at that right exact moment.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people were kind of calling troll build out of Snute in chat, but the thing was, like, there we go. We got drops coming in again. Drops versus Protoss have been incredibly effective. You look at any history of the matches we've been casting, players like Nurchio, amongst others, have been using them the most. But again, sometimes it is just getting a small amount of lings up early can do a lot of damage. And this is a bit dangerous because the Overlord's already kind of low. But the
that
Stalker
Cocoon didn't heal him. I guess I never looked at it before. But yeah, just microing around, it is speedlings, however, so that Stalker was inevitably going to die.
Maybe it was changed. I don't know. They tweaked to that Overlord drop thing a bit, but yeah, Cocoon should have healed it to full if it was like an Overseer, but maybe because an Overlord stays an Overlord, it just gets pockets. In fact,
I guess
if anything, it should lose health because you're taking something away from it, right? You're like, it's stabbing itself to make these little spots for the things.
Ooh.
I mean, you don't know.
You know? It's getting ventral sacks still, but just not altogether.
Okay, so damage here from Snute, not too bad. Kills a Stalker, a couple probes. Gets scouting, which is always nice, but unfortunately does lose the Overlord, so not the hottest thing in the world.
Oh. Well, this is Dusk Towers, and it should be going into quite a bit of macro game. We got Spore Crawlers on the way, Snute's going to be joining up. I'm sure MaNa's going to be going for his third base as well. Thing is that this wouldn't be the, very good map for a surprise 2-base all-in, just because Snute has such easy access to scouting the third, and whether or not that's down at an appropriate time. I don't think this is the one where you surprise someone with it. Unlike maybe, like, Lair Lack might have been an option, but that map's already over and done with.
Oh, so by the way, this reminds me, just so as we got a bit of a calm period here. We saw that video yesterday debuted where Jesse was playing against the viewers in chat, and that was kind of cool to see somebody get that involved with StarCraft. They also did an AMA, which they were doing for the giveaway of that smartphone, which will be airing on the finals. So
nice.
It's them taking questions from people who are tweeting at them about the TING Open, and yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I haven't seen the video yet. I'm excited to see what kind of questions were asked, because I know, unfortunately, thanks to the way Twitter tags people, like 80 of you asked them, like, why is Rifkin a vampire? And
you guys are so clever.
that'd be really cool if they didn't address any of those. Like, they just
They definitely
that'd be
addressed
awesome.
it. So these Adepts, there weren't too many of them, so the fact that they're all dead, for amount of drones they got, with the help, a little bit of help from the
15,
Oracle,
yeah.
was certainly worth it. Snute, I mean, I talked about not being surprised by 2-base all-in, but he was surprised by like a handful of Adepts. He just had no scouting on the front of the map. Now he does. Now he realizes his mistake, and he's starting to use those lings to the best of their ability, but that Nexus is already done, the pylons are already set up, and they're not going to be able to get a cancel or a kill. Maybe on a sentry. We'll see the force fields go down. Oh,
so
perfect.
That's what's really cool for this, right? We don't see many sentries this early anymore. I like the wall setup, the Sim City out of MaNa, like, this is great, but sentries for such a long time from all Protoss players, not just Europeans or Koreans, like all Protoss players, all regions, sentries started falling out of the game for a while. They're weak, Ravagers were just a hard counter. It's kind of ridiculous. So it's kind of cool to see them used again and used well.
Yeah. I think that more and more we'll see them on Dusk Towers here in these, like, because this is a very familiar way to wall off on this map, especially if you think that your third might be under attack.
Receiving incoming transmission.
Horrible. Which could be possible at any point. They could make, like, 20, 30 lings and then say goodbye to your Nexus. So the diagonal wall off really works, especially with the force fields available. I mean, MaNa, I guess, not only utilizing force fields in the early game, he was utilizing them in the mid game versus Reality, too, to pretty great effect. That's how he won the first game against them.
That pre-Antares game, specifically.
It was, and that was a pretty cool game. I don't know how much he'll add on more, though. Like, it still is the case that it's not going to be what it was on Heart of the Swarm. Sentries are not going to be something that everyone cries about because they're too overused and too deadly.
So there's
is good.
Charge lots in this. Well, charge isn't done, but it's decisively zealots over adepts, which is kind of cool. These are really good at massacring mineral lines, way better than adepts are, and kills queens a lot more efficiently too. So that's gonna be a really dangerous drop on the side. But Zombie Grub,
yeah,
I can't. This donation, I'm not even gonna read it. I haven't tabbed out. I just see who donated it, and I don't believe them.
My Twitch notes didn't work. Okay, I had to refresh. Not Skynet. Oh no.
I don't believe you.
Here. Donate $5. This is gonna do more damage. Actually, it's workers versus worker loss. This is not doing so badly.
Warping on the other side. Actually, this can kill the base, though. The roaches are actually not that great against us. +1's about to finish. Charge is done in a second. But MaNa is like 3 seconds too soon to this fight, so he picks up to walk away, and it's probably the smarter course of action.
He killed the 4th base, like, straight up.
Yes, over here.
So that was certainly worth it. And he only lost 4 probes to those lings. This is really nice damage from MaNa, who might end up losing his Warp Prism. It is really, really low, but no, he barely saves it. He did poke the bear a little, so it does have a higher army count now, but no speed on these roaches means that the counter will be quite slow.
It's also not a proper investment in roaches either. There's no weapon upgrades for them. It's melee. And, again, without speed, waddling across the map.
Yeah, so slowly. At least they'll have Carapace, but yeah, the Ravagers, not an issue for that speed, but the roaches are not going to be able to really pounce on anything, which not be able to micro away from anything. Lose the Mothership Core. No.
Okay.
Ooh,
well, of course, if you've got Ravagers, you don't really need the upgrades for the roaches, since like you might just turn a lot more of them into Ravagers. But these Immortals, those force fields, you can break the force fields, of course, not that big of a deal, but. Yeah, as you said, poking the bear, Snute pressuring into this. I don't like that he's doing this without some sort of high ground vision. An Overlord, an Overseer, something over here. Just to see this a little bit more comfortably so you can snipe with the Ravagers better. But force fields galore.
So many force fields.
I just want to point out,
thank God
this,
for those first 4 centuries.
Right? This is actually great use. This bought him a ton of time. This bought him a silly amount of time where more Immortals are out. Storm's done now.
Jesus. Oh, God. Yeah, and, Snute's not really going to be able to find a good position. More Immortals are popping out. The 3rd one pops out. Storm's just, all over. His Corrosive Biles are missing the army. They're trying to get the Mothership Core, too, and it's still not getting it. And this is Snute's army.
Oh, that Storm. The second MaNa cleans this up, that Warp Prism back in action. Start taking down that 4th base once again.
Oh, that Archon being moving around like a bowling ball. It barely survives. Bowling?
Who kicks a bowling ball around?
Did I say kicks? Oh god, don't kick a bowling ball.
No, but I mean, like, that's how else do they move it? They're like, okay, I'm just gonna, like, use my back and lift.
Oh, no, just like, like you do it Granny style.
I did that one time! One time while we were bowling.
Okay.
Rude.
Alrighty then. So Snute did a counter that did not end up working out and actually gave MaNa an even bigger lead alongside that really good harassment, losing the 4th base. Snute gave his army, sure he has his economy back up, but his army is not 40 supply up, it's only 20, and it has Splash to deal with now too. The Baneling choice is really interesting. The Ultralisk choice even more interesting. I mean, sometimes they can be good, but more often the Mortals find a good position and just blast them away.
I actually really like the Baneling choice because, MaNa revealing that there's been pretty heavy Zealot investment in this game. Charge lots being as good as they are. Lings can't fight that, but Banelings can. And of course, Lings are pretty easy to flood in afterwards, get a surround on the Immortals. So, again, this is very interesting because Ultras are not going to be very good against Protoss. We kind of know this. But they've still got a role in the game. They can soak hits. They're big, beefy units. But those Immortals, they're the only thing in the game that makes Ultras look silly.
I'm not sure about MaNa's transition here. So his War Prism is still alive and getting some scouting. very minimal though, because it's so low on health. It only sees a hive. The Lucian Phoenix is going to see the lack of a Spire, hopefully. I am worried that he's anticipating Broodlords and not Ultralisk. But he's still keeping up on his Immortal production, so maybe just covering both bases. And he still has a decent army supply. So I guess he is just recognizing that regardless of what it is right now, and he sees the Ultralisk, it's probably eventually going to get into Broodlords and a position where he needs that Tempest count.
Okay, so you're talking Tempest. I agree. Tempest is going to be kind of cool to see. We've seen a lot of split map situations on this. Of course, the most recent ridiculous one we got was Morrow versus Nurchio. But ooh, I was going to say, MaNa's got a lot of the same elements, and same with Snute, where if it does go to split map, if MaNa's putting down cannons and pylons in the middle of the map, and he's sitting there with a Tempest army that can't be beaten, as smart and clever and good as Snute is, it's still going to be really hard to overcome that late game Protoss. That's just the game design right now.
Yeah, late game does seem to be working out better. But of course, Zerg usually dominates in the mid game, which is where Snute ended up falling. Actually, he did that attack with the Roach Ravager, and it didn't work. That was supposed to be the position where he had the best opportunity to win. Doesn't mean it's going to be game over once they're both maxed out on their respective endgame compositions. It just is seems to be a little more difficult for Zergs nowadays. But running in here, he does risk being fully surrounded, and he does see this.
So against surrounding, he does go for the base. This actually catches these Ultras. That thing just pops. Oh my god, Zombie Girl. The focus fire.
Oh, the Templars are getting a couple of storms, though, but more importantly, the Ultras and the Roaches are just getting, like, even without the storms, it was a mostly Ultra Roach army, and the Immortals just absolutely wrecked.
Everything there was meant to kill what Snute had. That did not work out well. GG gets called, and MaNa will take a lead in this series now, 2-1. Oh, what's the next map? Let me just go queue this bad boy up. We'll get to it pretty quick.
Arena.
All right. Ooh, this is a map where Snute might be able to bring it back. Where is this right now? Of course, that donation message from Skynet earlier needs to be read out. So, not Skynet donated $5 and says, "Don't worry, human. Skynet only exists in the movies and is totally not planning to exterminate your race right now. Please move on and stop asking questions."
Okay.
Zombie Up confirmed good chatter outer. I don't blame her. The action was picking up. Like, that was legs in the mineral line, guys. It's all good. But thank you for the donation nonetheless, and your trolling is somewhat appreciated. I'm a little paranoid, so...
Ew.
Yeah, I read this thing recently on Reddit that made me think about it way too much, about how you're not scared of being alone, it's that you're scared that you're not alone. And I was like, oh shit. Like, that level of logic applies to everything I'm afraid of. Including Skynet! But okay, Lorena, we'll see you guys in a sec. Alright, we're back. It's game number 4 for the TING Open. And it's a very dangerous map to play on. We'll talk about strategies in a moment, but in the top left is going to be the blue Protoss, Team Liquid's MaNa.
In the bottom left, as the red Zerg, he is Liquid Snute.
So I almost feel like it's too obvious for Snute to do the drops on this map, whether it's Roaches and Queens or Lings and Queens. I just feel like, to an extent, you almost know, having given that sort of strategy away in Lilac Crest, being that MaNa's a teammate, being that MaNa's a player who's played Zerg on Arena before, there's that wariness that's too obvious. But at the same time, even if you can call an attack like that coming, it doesn't necessarily make it easier to deal with. It is, in some instances, almost a free win.
Sometimes. We've been seeing Terrans deal okay against it. They get a tank and maybe a Widow Mine, and they've been able to reduce the losses, at least, and hobble their way to maybe a victory, maybe a defeat. But it's been a while since we've seen a Protoss, because we've been casting Ting, and MaNa's doing Protoss, so it's over.
Yeah. Actually, I feel really out of it for casting Protoss, if we're going to be honest.
Right?
Like, you at least got to see Naniwa. I didn't even get to cast that group.
That's true. It's I do, like, it's too bad too, because this is actually when I enjoy Protoss. Heart of the Swarm, I was hardly ever looking towards a Protoss versus anything.
You're like,
the
PvP
I still enjoyed.
How enthralling.
Right? Yeah. PvP I still had okay times with, but everything else is just so boring. But Legacy of the Void, I think it gets a lot more exciting, even if it is, potentially balanced. But MaNa, I don't know, he scouts that it was a one-base opener, but that doesn't really mean it's going to turn into anything too cheesy, and in fact, he goes for a quick third base after that.
I like that pylon. Really...
Yeah, sacrifices himself for the good of his people.
Well, I mean... Sacrifice, die, whatever. Point is, buy some time. Since Snute does throw down the third base, doesn't look like we're going to have those drops, and it's really unfortunate MaNa didn't get eyes on that. Because again, in the back of his mind, I'm positive he's like, okay, I gotta go with what I see, but I know Snute's capable of blank.
That's the problem with Snoots, that he is, for both of these guys, I suppose, they both know each other pretty well, just being on teams for so long, and friends, I assume. But that Snoots is a good best-of-7 player. MaNa is, he's been throwing out a lot of cheesy situations, and the cheesy builds lately. They all gotta be worried about everything. So MaNa's actually gonna go ahead and push forward the Zealot and Adept, an odd combination, accompanied by that Mothership core. And they should try and get scouting on the very least on what's popping out of those eggs. If they don't see the third base because they're not going there because they don't anticipate it, they'll at least see that there's not a big roach force waiting for them at the front.
Yeah, a couple probes die on the back end of this. Nothing too devastating. Yeah, this does remind me of that Stalker Zealot Mothership core poke from the days of old. It's just the Adept now.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. They do end up scouting the third base, however, so MaNa knows he doesn't have to worry, and he's been continuing on his build with almost no problem, except those lings being a little bit of a hassle. So those are a Roro now. So if this game doesn't end in the early game for Zerg, if they do the ling drop or a Roach Ravager push, we do see a lot of Muta builds on this map, and a couple of those late game Muta Corruptor games too. Roach Ravager is still going to be good, so there's a few options that MaNa's got to be constantly scouting for. I feel like MaNa is going to be more limited than Snoots.
Speaking of scouting, here we go.
Hey!
Mothership quickest to the main. He actually might be able to kill the drone or two if he wants to really focus and play risky. He's got the energy for a recall, of course. Oh, nice build cancel out of Snute.
Yeah, just going to actually leave. I didn't really get a scout either. I mean, I think it might have been trying to scout for a lair timing. But it could have been in the natural. I guess technically the lair could have been a third, and it's not even ready yet.
So it's a good thing you did see the third and get the game continuing forward, but Snute, as we look at the income right now, starting to skyrocket a little bit thanks to said third. Protoss players have a lot less capability to play on two bases like you could in the past. You know, you mentioned it before in Heart of the Swarm, you're just like, oh, roll your eyes like Protoss, right? But it was kind of silly because you had so many situations where a Protoss player would sit on two bases for far longer than any other race could possibly do it. And it's not an issue of balance, it's just the design of the race. Now that's not really the case. We got the Robo coming down, and this is probably for Disruptors. I'm going to be very excited if it is. Might go for Colossus because MaNa's been changing it up, but the point still stands. He's not on a third, and Snute knowing this, it's going to be a little bit alarmed. In fact, oh, this is kind of cool. He force goes off the... we have a bit of an old school strategy coming in.
There are no roaches, so certainly not any Ravagers. The Roach weren't only just recently finished. Speed isn't done. The Queens look like they might be able to take care of this, as there's not really all that many warp-ins, and in fact, no more warp-ins here. But 15 drones, maybe? That last drone, get it.
I mean,
okay, well, 14 drones and a couple of Queens.
As I was say, you still got the Adepts. There's going to be more kills, for certain. These aren't going to be brought out of the base alive.
There we go.
Yeah, this is not bad. This is a great attack out of MaNa. Now,
that was pretty good.
Unfortunately for Snute, like this really was like a you got caught off guard moment. But this isn't something where those 15 drones necessarily are devastating. Again, he had eyes on MaNa not having a third.
Yeah. It's not so much that it's devastating and like Snute's like, oh god, I'm gonna lose now. It's more that I think he was like, okay, I really wanted to push and make sure that I was able to deny it in third base, and now I just had to use a lot of larva, a lot of minerals and gas on those drones to remake them. And that's what sucks about his position. Not that he thinks he's going to lose anytime soon. So MaNa had time to get an Immortal, to get his Disruptor count up. It's been a while since we've seen two-base Disruptor versus Zerg. We saw it from... Oh god, one of those Korean Protosses. Yeah, kill it, tap it. Yeah, there you go. One of the Korean Protosses that was in a Lima League, and I forget who it was. Someone who doesn't appear very often. Billowy!
I was going to say it would be Billowy or Blaze if it was someone who didn't show up too often.
Yeah. I can't believe I remember that name. But Billowy was using a lot of two-base builds, and I was wondering as to why. It seemed like it might be better versus like Roach Ravager pushes that happen too early, but regardless of when you get Disruptors, they're literally hit or miss. Like, they could be the greatest thing in the world, or they could be the most useless thing in the world. So seeing MaNa kind of not experimenting. I'm sure he's done this before, but throwing this style out, maybe it'll surprise Snute.
Well, I do like that Snoot's taking the rocks down. This is going to be opening up that pathway pretty nicely. But regardless of whether it's out in the open or it's in a choke like this, these disruptors are still dangerous units. And MaNa, it's a good thing you made the bowling joke earlier. Here we go. Not a bad hit.
Ravagers.
So it's like a spare, maybe? Yeah, it's a spare. That corpse.
So,
goodbye.
What's more concerning, so Snoot's attack isn't as strong as it could have been if those drones hadn't gone down. Oh no, Warp doesn't pick up the disruptor. Poor disruptor.
Rip.
But 2 more are ready to go, so this should not end the game here. But what's more concerning is not the Roach Ravager push, it is the potential Spire follow-up,
Yes.
probably for Mutas, which MaNa has not been able to scout yet and has nothing to deal with it. Now, he is starting Blink,
Yeah.
but only just starting. No upgrades on his units either.
It's also very important to note that it's not Blink won't stop this. Blink Stalkers were never great against Mutas. It was Blink Stalkers with +2, Blink Stalkers with +3. That was what really made those Blinks devastating, because you could actually volley down one Muta. MaNa's going to need a significant amount of Stalkers to get that one shot off, and regeneration is a hell of a thing.
The thing is that Mutas, when they're not going to do well in a head-on engagement until they're in the counts of like 25 or 30, and even then, maybe they haven't as many Stalkers as you. Snute not giving away his army, but showing what his army looked like and how small it was, I think is like MaNa going like, okay, that's how small it is. Let me attack.
Zombie, please.
Yeah, cool. Even if Snute was not transitioning, even if he had a Roach Ravager army, that's what you bring the Mothership for, so you can recall out.
Oh,
but
you know what?
the Muta's on the way. Okay, he's gonna recall.
I don't think he should have. That was actually probably the worst decision. But at the same time, I don't blame him for being scared. A large portion of Snoot's army was revealed on the other side of the map. But his own Sim City through these spine crawlers was going to work against him when trying to defend against the disruptors. So for MaNa, I understand the choice to come home, but this unfortunately takes away all pressure from Snute. And now these Mutas, they're going to get to go ham. Again, this Blink is not done yet.
Right. I think he was scared that it was a mass Roach Ravager army that he was about to, run into, and it was actually not that big of a Roach Ravager army, and it was going to be about those Mutas. So Snute probably had a bit of a mini heart attack when he saw that army go in and kill his 4th and go for his 3rd, but having pulled back, now Snute is going to get that control you get from going for Lings and Mutas. Like, even with Blink, MaNa's going to have a tough time. He could just try and all-in right now again, but he's going to try and get up to that Stargate, which you need if you're going to hope for a long game, a game that's not going to end in a base trade, though it probably still will.
Well, you say Snute probably felt like he's going to have a heart attack, but nothing feels better than being relieved after pain. And Snoot's he's got to be feeling pretty good right now.
The heart attack wasn't that bad. Like, I feel great now.
No, but it's like the heart attack's the worst feeling in the world, but that level of normalcy feels amazing compared to if you were just sitting there on your couch anyways without having had the heart attack in the first place.
Sure.
It's like when you got a really tough poop, and it finally goes through.
Good deal.
Mothership Core does get some overcharges, but unfortunately the stalker count not quite high enough. In fact, barely gets one muted. That's kind of nice. Does pull the rest of the stalkers back to the main. He's got Blink ready to go, but not utilizing yet. Stargate's on the way. We got the potential Inium Pulse Crystals with a Fleet Beacon, but these mutas can't fight. These mutas do back away, but as we see with so many of them being very, very low, that's the difference of stalkers having any weapon upgrades or not. They just can't quite finish them unless they all focus fire one at a time, which MaNa's now doing. Granted, well done.
24 Stalkers versus 19 Mutas. Nice control over the Lings as well, because that's where things start to get really, really hard, is when they're attacking with Mutas the left, Lings on the right, and then Ravagers up through the middle. So MaNa pretty perfectly splitting his army here for now. If they ever cross and get Lings in the main and Mutas on your Disrupt their Immortal Ball, then that's actually when things go really, really bad. But MaNa's done a great job. He's got up to double Stargates. He even has the Fleet Beacon, so he can start the range upgrade. This is something that we rarely see. Usually Protosses are almost dying at this point because they didn't anticipate the Muta swap, or they forgot how to face the Muta swap since Heart of the Swarm when it was so popular.
So Nathanius, for whatever fucking reason, is going through my pockets right now, rifling through the Partoofs and showing everyone how many Partoofs I have, and then bragging about his 69,000. I mean, first off, great number, but why demean me in the process, man? That's a dick move. I'm about to go manually remove all your Partoofs. That's not cool, dude. All right, the Muta count, by the way, kind of insane, sitting at 27. This is quite scary. Picks off the Disruptors. Nice focus fire out of Snute. A surgical procedure, because it is the Disruptors that were the biggest threat to his ground army, whether it's Lings, whether it's Roaches. He was never going to be able to fight if there's 5 Disruptors waiting for him. He bleeds out a couple Mutalisks, but truth be told, the Disruptors are far higher priority targets.
Yeah, they're much more expensive, and he's not really willing to give up that disruptor count yet. You know, he's rebuilding a few because he realizes that at any point a big Roach Ravager army could come in. Lings might be a little dangerous to use disruptor against, but even still, if you get that one big splat on the Lings, that's a great feeling. The Phoenix count has been growing. They're getting their upgrades, and we even have some My Templars on the way, either for Archons, and probably for Archons first, but maybe even Storm if the game goes on any longer. MaNa does need a 4th base eventually, though. He's banking a few minerals now, but his army is really not looking so hot. 60 supply down.
Ooh, that Disruptor hit was pretty nice. That Stalker count, it's okay, but I'm looking at those 33 mutas, and I just don't see a way to stop Snute. He does get on top of the Phoenix. You're supposed to be able to kite all day with these. He's got Indian Pulse Crystals. Those mutas should never have been in range in the first place.
Yeah. Well, he had a lot of things to do. He had a force field, he had to dodge Corrosive Biles, and the Phoenix count was any higher. If that was like 14 mutas, and Stu probably made a huge mistake. I mean, he was up 60 army supply. Now he's only up 40.
Yeah. It's getting a little bit dicey. If he continues to push through this choke, it's not going to go well, but he could very well sniped off that Nexus, for example. But either way, just kind of heading back home. He's going to regather his forces. Corruptors are on the way. Don't poop shame me, guys.
That was a crappy joke, Griffin.
Shut up.
MaNa.
No, you and the puns.
MaNa is not doing so badly. You know, that other Protosses would have died straight up to an attack like that, but he does need that 4th base to go down. He's still growing in that muta counts, but Snute was missing at least one important aspect in that fight, and that was Corruptors to tank a few hits. Actually, mostly tanking a few hits, not even necessarily killing the Phoenix.
So I agree with that, but also MaNa was missing Archons quite heavily.
That's true.
This is going to be hugely influential. Again, whether it's the Archons to deal with the Corruptor bunch, or whether it's the Archons to get the hit on the mutas. I mean, this is a game that has MaNa a little bit more on the ropes than I expected, but he's still in this game, and it's far from over.
Oh yeah, MaNa has got that 4th base up now. He's still on 51 probes, so that's a decent amount. The income, I'm going to guess, has been in Snute's advantage. It has. A couple of spikes from MaNa here and there.
Actually, the fact that it's been somewhat even, though, is a pretty big deal. Because we're so used to seeing spikes, but when there's nothing, that means that they're both MaNa equivalently.
The Archons are going to add a lot here. The Blink Stalker count has really been quite reduced. Only at 10 right now, but in favor of bigger and better units. Mostly those Phoenix. Still a very low supply for both parties. MaNa and Snute's both really starving on that gas. That's why MaNa is like long distance mining gas right now. What the hell? Okay, he's starting to mine normally on those gas guys who's at the 4th base. But MaNa's going for an attack. He's going to force an attack, and the Archons hopefully going to get some really great splash.
Nope.
They died pretty easily.
But the Phoenix will still clean up the yard. That's the thing. The Corruptors were taken out immediately. There is no buffer for the mutas. They're just going to take hits. Snute goes from 30-something mutas down to 8, 7. This is falling apart for him very quickly.
Phoenixes were a little idle for a second there, and his Blink Stalkers did take a couple Corrosive Bile shots, but the Phoenixes, once they get rid of the air, they can start just dominating the ground as well.
Actually,
but they start going down too.
This is where a flood of roaches, a flood of lings would actually be fantastic, because Phoenixes can't possibly grab up all the lings and all the roaches.
That's a good point, but Snute's not really rolling in the dough anymore. He made like 15 more roaches. First of all, please don't hit yourselves. This game is still pretty damn even. Below 100 supply, usually you just think it's tap out time, unless it's like a base trade. But they're both under 100 supply. It's pretty damn even. And now Snute's reinforcing with worse units. He has roaches, not even Ravagers, not even well upgraded roaches, mind you. These have been upgraded as roaches this entire time. I didn't even notice that.
Snute's been upgradeless, period. Like, this was brute force from both players for so long. MaNa didn't have +1 for a long time. He didn't have any Pulse Crystals. I mean, it was muted brute force versus Blink Stalker brute force. I mean, I love the Mass Queen appeal to this, actually. Transfuses are going to be fantastic, but it's not going to work.
Wow.
I thought Snute, when he took that first engagement just now with the mutas, I thought this was going to be his game. This was going to be his series, but this ends up going now so heavily in MaNa's favor, he puts Snute on his last life already in this best of 7.
Oh, shit.
All right, well, guys, we are going to take a slightly longer ad break now. So if you got to use the bathroom, you want to fix some snacks, go do it, because we're going to go to a word from our sponsors, TING. We've talked a lot about TING over the last few days. One of the things I keep forgetting to bring up that Jesse has asked me to mention several times is one of the side benefits to TING, on top of all this other stuff that we've talked about, is you can keep your phone number with TING, too. I guess that's a big deal for some people. I've never really been too attached to my own phone number personally, and I've been through like 7 in my life. So, but if you are somebody who does care about your phone number, you can actually keep it with TING. Also, you might be wondering, like, can I even use TING? Something like the numbers they gave me, I don't know if this is accurate, it's just what they've asked me to say, but like something like 80% of the devices made in the last 2 years are compatible with TING. So LTE, 4G, I don't know. I have no idea what the limitations are, but this video does. So we're going to go to Kyra. She's going to tell you guys a little bit about that, and we'll see you guys in a few minutes. All right, folks, welcome back to what is almost going to be the end of the day. This could be it. We don't know, but he is one win away from ultimate victory. Spawning in the top left side of the map, it's going to be Team Liquid's MaNa.
In the bottom left, as the red Zerg, he is Liquid Snute.
So, at this point, from here to the end of the day, there's not going to be any more breaks unless the players request them. So, maybe Snute brings us back, boom, 3 games in a row, and the 4th one ends up being an ace match, or I don't know. But it is going to be something where we want to make sure the players are just ready to play. We weren't quite sure. Like, today, it's 2 best of 7s. It's really hard to gauge how that's going to go, but just had to make sure we squeeze in all the appropriate sponsor ads before we got too far into it. So, last thing here before we get into the game, someone asked, what does TING convince me to use it? I can't really convince you to use it. That's their job. But I can hopefully convince you to check out their website, guys, by bttv.ting.com. Now, TING is a U.S. mobile phone service, and unfortunately does only offer service to the United States. But God knows they've built up goodwill with many other parts of the world with this tournament. So, a bit unfortunate for me being in Canada. But even as a Canadian, you can, as a tourist, get things like their SIM cards. I've got mine set up so that when we go to DreamHack Austin in a couple months, which, by the way, it's less than 2 months away. How super sick is that? I'll be able to use TING and their services while I'm there.
I am so excited to finally go somewhere again.
I know, we went to Toronto, that was great. I had a great time, but that wasn't like going to an event. It was cool hanging out with Huck and Scarlett and some of the other folks we met there, but it wasn't an event. I'm really excited for DreamHack Austin. Also, It occurred to me recently, we've been so focused on DreamHack Austin, I kind of forgot we're going to Ole Mole's wedding. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I was pretty excited about that too.
Yeah, that's not just about being excited. I'm like, I'm gonna have to bring nice clothes, not just like shorts and t-shirts.
See, that's something I'm very concerned that I'm gonna forget.
Yeah.
That I'm just gonna like pack everything and be like, everything's good, because I packed the night before, right? And then like wake up in the morning and be like, oh god, I hope that the mall is open at like 6 a.m.
Well, my problem is my weight has fluctuated so much over the last like half a year. I actually don't know if my good dress pants are going to be something I need to have tailored or not. I should probably go look into that.
Yeah, man, I have to get the my bridesmaid dress tailored for my other wedding I'm going to.
Oh, look at you!
I know, right? I'm so fancy.
Collecting weddings like Pokemon cards. Damn.
Yeah, whatever.
You're like, shut up.
I mean, as long as they're like parties, I'm looking forward to Olivia's wedding more, because it's gonna be a lot more fun not knowing everyone. Like, I'm gonna know you guys and that's it. I think that's actually kind of funny. But for the other one, I know my friend's family, and her family's not very good. But anyways,
those shots. What is going on with those Mothership Core shots?
Right? So it was going down, I guess, and I don't know, but. The Stalker was doomed once the speed finished, so it was a little odd to see anyway.
If he'd actually picked off the Overlord, that would have been worth it to even lose the Stalker for it. So it kind of sucks that he didn't get it. It's going quite badly there for MaNa, but it's just an opening of one unit, not a big deal. Stargate is revealed right off the bat, having that on the front lines, so the Lings got to see what the case was going to be. So this brings up 2 kind of questions now. The first one being, how does Snute plan to deal with it? Because there's a couple different directions. We've seen some people very intentionally flood Hydra Ling because you just don't have the energy to pick all those units up. Plus, it's good against Phoenix. We also have people just do things where you don't have to worry about getting picked up. Things like Nidus Worms, and Runes of Saras is a pretty good Nidus Worm map. But the second question is, how concerned is Snute because he is on his last life? Will this affect his mentality? Will he play too safe, not safe, like too risky? It really does change, I think, a lot of people's point of view. There's very few people who can stay unbiased, completely like unaffected by the map score. And Snoot's got to be fully where he is on his last life.
Yeah. I think Snute's definitely a guy that will recognize what's going on. He's not just like game. But I also know that he has it in him to just completely disregard his feelings on the matter and play it as another game and actually still bring it back for the win. And that's a lot of Lings on the way. As you mentioned, Lings could do well against Phoenixes just because, well, Phoenixes can't pick them all up. So if MaNa was going to try and get away with a greedy third because he has a little bit of pressure going on the other side of the map, well, then he wouldn't be able to get away with it with this many Lings.
Yeah, there's some confusion in chat. I'd just like to clarify as well. People asking about that finals. We announced it earlier, and we've been pretty vocal about it, but for those who missed it, the announcement is if Gumiho had won the semifinals, we would have had the finals play tomorrow in that best of 9. However, Gumiho didn't win. Rogue won, and Rogue has Pro League he has to worry about. So rather than force him to pick and choose and get forfeits in bad games, we've tried to cater to Rogue's schedule. And he says Wednesday works out fine for him. Snute and MaNa were both aware of this before even playing today. They both agreed and said not a problem. So the grand finals for the TING Open will take place on Wednesday. We'll have everything posted in the Team Liquid thread. We'll have it up on the Team Liquid calendar. But yeah, just so everyone's fully aware, there's no finals match playing today, and there's no finals match playing tomorrow. It will be on Wednesday.
Yes. So that was kind of weird. It was like a fake pylon. He decided to go for the other third and maybe hope that Snute wouldn't scout it or something. But he did. He checked. But you know what, the pylon? Nah, it's gonna get cancelled. That's just too many Lings. Oh no! It wasn't a cancel.
Well, this is a little bit awkward.
Wait a minute. He wasn't... Was he actually going to use that third? I actually do wonder. He was banking up so many adepts that were kind of hidden in the back. They weren't showing themselves to try and protect the wall. That I wondered, and I noticed he wasn't building any more probes. It was interesting.
He breaks through.
Uh-oh, base trade?
I don't know. Like,
structure trade? Like,
it's a question of like what trade's better in this situation. I think Snute gets the worst end of the stick if that's going to be the dedication. He does still have to defend at home, but walls off, cancels the adepts warping in. Ooh, no pylons for overcharge. Mothership Core will eventually clean this up. Meanwhile, third base under attack. Queens of Plenty and Roaches are going to start pushing this back. If Snute's fighting with a full force of the army, I think he holds on to this.
Look at the third placement. Oh, MaNa, please cancel that.
Oh. I don't. I don't know what to say about that. But like, I thought, okay, it's gonna be off by 1 grid point. You're freaking out over nothing, but okay, he does reposition it. Snute gets away with a lot of kills on this, though. I mean, it's worth noting. You pointed out before, MaNa wasn't building probes for that third, which also means he didn't have the abundance to lose through this attack. He's knocked down to 30 probes for 1.5 bases mining. Snute, on the other hand, his heavy queen investment, and he's still making more, means he's going to be able to contest these Phoenixes pretty easily going into the game.
That really spiraled out of control. Like, losing a Nexus without a cancel is a mistake for sure, and it puts you behind. Canceling it is not ideal either, but so, like, you almost expect it in this matchup. But to let the Lings in after that, and for his Adepts to really do not much damage at all, MaNa is really, really behind. Snute's like going for like an all-in here, bringing his queens. It looks very silly because it's something that we see on Laralac with a lot of creep spread already formed going to your opponent's base. It's a much bigger map, and the creep spread wasn't nearly as far out, so it looks very funny. But Snute is gonna push
slowly.
Very slowly.
Everything's stuck behind the queens, but it's good because they'll be the anti-area needs. Tries to get a cancel on this next. Is not going to get it. Walks away with the Lings. Keeping these alive is actually very important, as it will be that nice little fodder to have in the army. People, by the way, call me out for our Archon mode play. I just want to throw out, guys, like, Zombie Grub does not carry me, okay? We work together. And I know that because I'm the one saying that, everyone's just like, okay, well, whatever, Rifkin's just trying way too hard here. I'm hoping you can back me up on this.
Oh, yeah, sure, I'll back you up on that. I think he does a nice, like, very good job scouting and microing.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to talk about this and not back you up just to make you cry, but there is no detection, and this is going to do a lot of damage because the lair wasn't done either.
This completely screws Snute, I would argue. Like, this was actually a really great attack from Snute coming that was borderline capable of winning the game. But 3 DTs... Oh my god, 3 DTs wreck his day. Now the Lings flood in, and this is going to wreck MaNa's day. There's no wall off. Oh my god.
The lair's finished, but he's not putting any overseers. These queens are all going to go down, but he's just rebuilding more. He's making so many minerals.
It's alright, because as much of a fail as that was in the middle of the map, these lings make up for it. They killed 27. MaNa's going to have no probes coming out of this. If Snute can just hold on to any degree, like all the queens die, that sucks. But if it comes into a base trade even, I actually don't even feel that bad for Snute.
The overseers can be picked off by the Phoenix. Like, he needs spore crawlers, too.
Yeah,
he's getting a couple on the front. But those can be targeted down.
Yeah.
The Overseers should provide enough coverage just about to kill 1 or 2 of these DTs, but I don't know about 6. Oh, are you really going to do this with DTs? Oh, no.
Not like this. Not like this.
No,
the Overseers, if the queens are nearby, they can try transfusing them, but that's going to fall. There is a spore crawler here, so he does have some detection. And keep in mind, MaNa's economy was completely devastated while this goes on, so as long as Snute doesn't die here, I feel very good for his position in this game.
Oh, yeah. But imagine if that last input hadn't actually happened. Like, the probe and drone count have really started to recover here for MaNa, and he still had all of his Nexus. It was just the probes that went down.
I mean, 52 workers have died this game. That's not a comfortable feeling for MaNa at all. But I am blown away at how good DTs are, Zombie Grub!
DTs are so good when you do a hatchery based all in.
Like, I'm about to just walk away and... Yeah, well, I mean, in fairness, you're comparing tier of techs, right? Like, tier 2.5 versus 1 versus whatever. But I cannot believe... Because Snute, it's not just that he had a lot of queens. That looked funny, yes. But he had a lot of queens that had specifically not been laying down tumors or injects. He was saving up energy. And transfuses were going to be his best friend moving forward in the game. Those DTs, however... That really screwed this game over for Snute in that regard. But he's still recovering. We got Infestors. You know what? Fungal Growth whacked his detection. If he can't keep the Overseers up, he'll be able to grab those Phoenix and finally pick them out of the sky. I mean, Snute, he keeps his bases. The supplies aren't too devastating on either side of this. And it has gotten into a bit of recovery mode where they're both licking their wounds.
MaNa is going for like pure Phoenix. He's upgrading his Phoenix. Excuse me. He's getting a couple of Archons with his DTs. Realizing that their use has been expired, and he's getting Charge. Charge Archon Phoenix, it can be oddly devastating. Like, you account for one but not the other, but Fungals are supposed to account for both. So Snute does have the right units, but not much for fodder. Just a lot of queens. Yeah, this is a very odd game, and one that MaNa otherwise would have been...
Nice
there's the rest of the army. There's
Good
what it was.
Fungals.
But that MaNa should have been completely out of earlier on. He should have been dead with that first Ling Flood, I feel, but this is still happening, and MaNa's still going to try. But Snute does have a ground army. It was just not with the Queen army. So that's still quite a big army spot difference. Yeah,
and the Ravagers popping up too. I mean, the thing that was kind of funny was he was trying to hit the DTs with the Corrosive Biles, and it was almost working. He had almost killed 2 of them with them, but it was just that matter that he only had like 3 or 4 Ravagers. Now he's got plenty. Hive Tech begins while this goes on, and Snute, while they both went to recovery mode, has recovered a lot better. I mean, it's weird because the supply count, like, it's Queens and Ravagers. This is objectively not an amazing army, but for what has this game been tailored to, this is a great army for Snute.
There's so many Overseers with it, too.
I know, he's like, never again. Never again.
Oh, this has got to be the death push. It's literally twice the supply.
The Lings are going to be the best part of this, without question.
Like 2 Archons, please.
I mean, I think if Sober DTs, we get that magic done once again, but that's not going to happen. Infestors don't have a lot of energy, but there are a couple Fungals to look out for. Of course, the Biles rain from above, take out some of those Phoenix, but GG gets called.
Oh, amazing.
Snute not going to go down. Not like this! Personally, I was so scared. I'm like, I would love to see MaNa get to the finals, but I literally did not want to see him get to the finals like that. It's just like,
not like this.
Not like that. No. But okay. Shows the strength of DTs, but Snute shows the strength of a calm head and good macro. What is the next map, madam?
Detox.
Ooh, okay, cool. This is, again, a map both players have played, actually, more than once. Snute, I think, has a little bit more practice on this. But this is going to be really cool for me, because every time we've played this map, one player hasn't played it. It's been awkward. It's been weird. Ryung puts depots in bad places. Gumiho's like, what the fuck am I doing? But both MaNa and Snute have played on this map. Both of them have played specifically PvZ. And this is going to be awesome. Oh man, my man Panic Switch, 20 months on that resub. Big love, dude. Big love for Panic Switch. Says Rifkin, you deadbeat. Where's my child support? How am I supposed to feed our kids if you're all raging all the time? Don't make me gun check since it will just lead to tears. I still love when people tell stories with our emoticons. It's a big love to Panic Switch. But this series is still a little bit scary and can we increase it as refs? Can you like number speed plus or something?
You know, I thought there was a way and there can't. Oh, I did.
Do I have ref? I don't have ref, do I? This would be like, maybe we just wanted better micro or something like that. But okay, we are good to go. We're not going to have to remake this. So, spawning here in the bottom left, he does still lead this series. And if you can win this game, he will go through to the finals. It is going to be the blue Protoss, Team Liquid's MaNa.
In the top right, as the red Zerg, he is Liquid Snute.
I would like to once again just remind everybody what the stakes are for this series, because both players have earned 400 US dollars for getting this far. They can't walk away from this tournament with any less. But the winner of this gets a chance for the finals. First place in this tournament is worth $2,500. Second place, $1,300. So a considerable amount of money even if you lose that grand finals match. But of course, all this is made possible thanks to TING. TING.
TING. I don't know what's up with that speed. Usually just it's automatic, but maybe it got changed on Europe specifically. I don't know. It
seems to happen once every like 100 games. I'm not, whatever. As long as you have a referee, you can increase and decrease it, so it's fixed.
I'm reminded of that Life game. Oh, that complicates things. Where they apparently had not noticed that it was on slows. Life versus Partying, I think.
Well, the question
you
is,
remember that, right?
Would it have mattered?
Right. Well, that's why I said it complicates a little bit.
Has there been any updates about that? I've not been following that story at all. Does anyone know? Like, is he even in custody? Is he in jail? Like, what the hell's going on with that?
No idea.
He's just like he's been silently released. He's like in the Bahamas sipping on some, I don't know, mojitos.
Stepping on him?
Sipping on.
Oh,
why would you step on a drink? That's just glass that gets in your feet. That's dangerous.
That's terrible. That's a bad idea.
He's playing Cavalier with his health. That's not cool.
There's enough money? Apparently not. And then we have 3 action for pool.
You know that gif that's like the sensible chuckle? That's my reaction.
I wanted to bring up the speed. I didn't want to bring up anything else, and now you just did drama.
So you ruined it. You ruined it. Congratulations. Sub-only mode, I'm imagining. Sorry, mods. Of course, we're also in a shit list from our mods. We talked about religion earlier, and we're not supposed to do
right?
That.
Like, what's so
crazy?
But we didn't compare religions. We just complained about, things that happened for us. So really just a personal anecdote.
Well, actually, it wasn't even an ask, and I don't bring it up again, so mods, forgive me. It wasn't even an ask we were discussing religion. It was just more like the jerk-offs who had, like, Bibles, like, end of story.
Oh, dear.
Actually, I was, This is not so much about religion so much as, I guess, weird solicitation. I had never, before we went to Toronto for IEM, ever seen anyone on the side of a street, like, with the Bibles or trying to save the environment or anything like that. And now I've been seeing them all over the place. I live in a farm town. There's nobody here, but there's somebody who's been doing that on the one-way, and I'm like, the 12 people in this town are
all the time for me, and like going to like anime conventions and now gaming conventions happens all the time.
Yeah, well, we were at BlizzCon. People were picketing outside of BlizzCon. That was insane.
It was really weird. But story time has to end right now because you do actually have a 2-base all-in for MaNa. So these are really rare, but they're good if they're not scouted still. And, Snute was being pretty greedy with the hatcheries, but is he being greedy with the droning? Well, it looks like he's actually having to pay attention to these adepts first.
Well, this is something for Snute we have always discussed. He likes to go queen heavy in most matchups, in most situations, and that's going to benefit him a lot here. And he's got the Roach Warren ready to go. The problem is he doesn't have the vision on this. So
he just made so many drones.
8 drones. That's that's not even the money at this point. It's the larva. Look, he's got no larva.
Yeah,
he actually cannot make roaches right now. And not only does he need roaches, he needs the extra 30 seconds to make the Ravagers from the roaches.
He has no idea. The overload went into the natural. It's all like, lack of gases. But, Protoss have been able to hold off on gas for a long longer than they were in Heart of the Swarm because the depths aren't that gas heavy. So if he had checked again, he might be like, that's a little suspicious. But he's not checking. Like, who two-baits all-ins anymore?
Here's my consolation on this. If Snute recognizes quickly that this is a problem, he could pull back to the natural and hold up there with his massive amounts of queens. But he's realizing it too late. Zealots... Sentries are going to be a problem. Stacks the drones. Oh, don't fight this base. Oh, they get stuck. Oh, no.
Oh, dear.
He is going to bring the queens to the front lines. Transfuses go off. He's going to try and buy some time. I mean, truth be told, for MaNa, this isn't a huge army. Roaches and Lings could ideally deal with this. And again, that's the whole point of bringing his army back and trying to bulk up in a situation where he can fight perhaps a little bit better. But Sentry's going to make sure there's no retreat from Snute. He's got to fight with drones. This kind of sucks. Lings are here, but there's no speed.
Slow lings. He's lost a lot of drones, but he still had an even count. If he could destroy this army, like actually destroy it, he would be able to recover.
If he takes out the sentries, the roach reinforcements and the ling reinforcements can certainly deal with just stalkers. It's starting to look a little bit better for Snute.
Yeah, this game is not over, even though it was a complete surprise, but it is so close to being over. Zealots coming in here are really going to help slice and dice the drones and the lings. A couple of roaches are now coming in.
Finish off the sentry with the drones!
Okay, yeah. They were, of course, hold positioning, so the Zealots stop attacking them, but doesn't kill that sentry. Gets the last hit, though, and now is starting to push this back.
But the problem still is he's not able to mine off his base comfortably. He's going to try to here, but... These drones, I would really, if they were mining over here, Snute would have the money to keep producing these roaches. Having all the queens go down as well means we're not seeing injects go off. He's not got a lot of larvae to work with, even if he gets that money up.
Yeah, the best opportunity Snute ever has is hitting with everything at once, including the drones. So he loses a couple of lings just being AI'd over. It's such a low army supply for both parties. He finally has a Ravager to get a couple of shots in here without having to lose the roach, but he's about to lose the third base, and I think this is going to be that snowball.
This is really unfortunate if Snute goes down like this, but it's so close. Like, he's... Every time MaNa warps in new units, yeah, there we go, it gets harder and harder to deal with because each of these waves is Zealots. If you were able to take out the Stalkers entirely, the future warp-ins wouldn't be such a problem. That's why I really like the Ravagers, but they just don't have the range, the health, or really the regen or anything like that right now.
Yeah, it's just numbers, Like, if there was 7 Ravagers, I'd be like, control it to heart, micro that as much as you want. Maybe you can do something, but only 2, it is going to be difficult. The Lings are trying to get us around to the Stalkers. They do back off, and that's what they want. They don't want to tangle with the Zealots.
The nice thing is, finally, these Ravagers are the first instance of retention from Snute. A lot of this has been sacrifice and trading. The Ravagers have been trading out nicely and staying alive for round 2 and 3, but unfortunately right now, there's no Curse of Baals going down. The Ravagers are trying to stay alive. Lings get pulled up to the front lines. Once the Zealots go down, Lings are good against Stalkers, but again, another wave of Zealots comes in, and this is just this perpetual tug-of-war that Snute is slowly bleeding out in. Drones get pulled into the front lines once again, means less mining for him.
He was close. Like, being completely blindsided by this. He had 1 or 2 moments where
he had no idea this was coming.
But unfortunately, he did not have enough. And even, I said he was at even drones like 2 minutes ago. He is far below the drone count of MaNa.
If this had been held off long enough too, we've seen this map by now. But congratulations to MaNa. He's gonna go through to the finals. The one Protoss in this tournament, pretty much. Very sad to see Snute lose. But now this raises that question. Let's revisit that topic from earlier. How does MaNa measure up versus Rogue? Because let's talk about what's going to happen there. Rogue will have just played Pro League, so I doubt he's going to have to hide any builds or anything like that. There's no big events coming up for MaNa, so same deal over there. There's going to be this difference of North America, East Coast, Central Coast server balancing we have to do with MaNa being from Europe and Rogue being from Korea. But I questioned at the start of this, would he flop versus Snute? Would he look good versus Snute? And truth be told, he really did look good versus Snute. So I'm feeling quite good for MaNa's chances going to the finals versus Rogue. I still think everybody with a bit of sanity is going to be cheering for Rogue. But personally, I'm going to be that one guy voting for MaNa. Because he was looking good enough to make me think maybe, just maybe, he can do this. Let's not forget, MaNa did finish second place WCS last year. He's been a champion for a long time. He's a good player at the game. He knows what he's doing. Like, this isn't some far-fetched idea I'm trying to sell you guys on. And in fact, I'm curious if MaNa would mind coming to talk for a moment.
Okay. Well, my thoughts, like, I think a lot of people are going to be like cheering for the European hope, the foreigner hope, and all that, because it's a storyline we don't often get. Although I guess Hydropult and Violet also count as Koreans. But I think he'll take a few games. But Rogue is just really good, and I think he'll be hitting all the pressure points that maybe Snutes and the other Zergs are missing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the difference too of like, will he be super aggressive? Will there be more macro games over there? I don't know. MaNa said he can come on, though, so I'm going to invite him to the call. Screen regions are going to get all kinds of messed up, guys. He doesn't have a camera, though, but we'll just get his wonderful voice in here and ask him a question or two.
Okie dokie.
So let's give it a moment. There we go.
Hello, 1, 2, 3.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hello.
Hey.
So
not much.
Not much, no big deal. You're just the only Protoss player pretty much in the tournament, and somehow you made it to the finals.
Karma, I don't know, man.
This is really cool. I'm actually really happy about you getting here. I mean, I would have loved to have seen Snute. I think everybody would have as well. You or Snute were going to be good options to have. But for me, there's just that story of this tournament was so not Protoss represented at all. You and Nani were the only Protoss players to play in the round of 32, and yet you're the one who makes it to the finals. So I'm curious, first question is, did you think you'd get here? Were your chances good enough to do it, did you feel?
No, absolutely not. I was actually thinking about forfeiting the round of 32 or round of 16 because I was feeling very, very bad because I'm really sick now. And I'm on recovery, basically, so I have absolutely no idea how I got here. But of course, I'm really happy.
Maybe it's like that inhibition, dude. You're just like being sick. You're more inclined to say fuck it for decisions, and it makes you play better. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just put my own pressure off myself. So I'm playing the best I can at the day, and that's it, you know. So I think that had a good impact on me somehow, some way, or I was just super lucky.
Well, I was going to say, I was really impressed. I know I talked to you about this already in private, but like I was really impressed when you played versus Reality and the way you played versus Reality. That was cool to see. So we already know you've got what it takes to beat a top-tier Korean. What do you think your chances are versus Rogue in the finals?
Very, very low.
God, this guy.
Really.
Yeah, before he answers, guys, he's said this to everything I've ever asked him when it's like, do you think you'll do well? No, never.
I mean, I have my own confidence overall, but like this series versus Snute was me just countering Snute, not countering Zerg, and I don't know if I'll be able to counter Rogue at all. My PvZ is quite weak now. I don't necessarily have a good idea or grasp on how to play the matchup. I think a lot of the Protosses are struggling as well, even though I am in the finals and I just beat a Zerg. But as I said, I just countered my opponent luckily. And I think I just caught Snute off guard of a bad day, and that's why I won.
So let me ask you this then next. You've got a little more time. You know, we talked about how this was originally supposed to play tomorrow for the finals. Now you've got till Wednesday. Do you think there's going to be any benefit in those extra 2 days? You know, practice or seeking out other players to get ideas and strats off of, or are you just going to cross your fingers and hope for the best?
Absolutely, it's going to be better for me. That's just more time to recover, to get healthy, and I'll get more practice done. Hopefully, I can grab some Zergs from Europe to practice with, and we'll see how. I mean, I'll not put any pressure. I'm definitely the underdog against Rogue, so I'll just play my best. I'm happy where I am, but I hopefully will not stop in here in the finals.
Well, luckily, this isn't the first time we've seen you in one of our finals, so I've already got faith that you'll be able to play at least well. I guess my one question then to wrap this up, you've got obviously a whole plethora of players to choose from. Is there any one Protoss you look up to right now in the game, just in general? I'm not talking for like PvZ, but just in general. Is there like one Protoss player you look up to when it comes to looking for strategies and technique or anything like that?
I think looking at the results overall, Zest has been the most impressive, and every time I watch him play, he's quite solid. But on the other hand, when I watch his game and he wins a lot, it's not the tactics of his opponents that are scaring me at all. So it's not like I'm learning much from it, because the tactics that his opponents were using were not the threat for me, because I know how to counter them. So there's not really much that I can learn from the other Protosses now, unless I have seen recently some PvZs where Zergs just crushed Protosses with the early aggression. That's the most difficult part. So overall, I'm just looking out for Zest, to answer the question simply.
So TLDR, you've got 2 days to find Zest Senpai and get his whatever knowledge you came from. Okay, that's cool though. No, I really again like there's a lot of respect for you, MaNa. You've been a champion for your second place WCS. That's cool for like the big events, but for our stuff, you've always competed well. You've gotten far in a lot of the things we've hosted. So I'm gonna tell you right now, man, I'm cheering for you. I don't want to cast or curse you, so I'm not predicting you to win, but I am cheering for you if that helps.
Yeah, that definitely helps. I mean, I really need the support of my fans currently because I haven't been performing well in Legacy of the Void, I think. I've been having a lot of underwhelming results, and I'm disappointing myself as well. So getting here to the finals is a good start. Hopefully more to come. So I'm really looking forward to the fan support and cheer for me and cheer for BaseTradeTV as well because this TING Open thing is actually very fun to play and watch as well.
Yeah, actually, sorry, that was my last question, but I have one more now. With the TING Open, we experimented by doing a lot more games, like best of 5s instead of best of 3s, best of 7 semifinals. I know we had asked some other players if they thought this was a good or bad thing. What's your feel? I mean, there's been a lot of games been played. Is that a good or a bad thing?
I think for overall, like for a tournament and viewer-wise, more games is better. For player, for me in particular, best of 7 on these maps is not the most fun to play because I think the current map pool is quite Zerg favorite. I am whining a lot. God damn it, I'm whining a lot in this interview, but I mean, it's just my point of view. But I like to play a lot of games. I like to practice because when you play in the tournaments and you play more games in a tournament, that's the best practice you can get. You will not get this kind of practice in any amount of custom games with your friends because here you play to win and they will do everything they can do in certain maps. They will show all the tricks. So more games, better for me, better practice for the future.
Cool. That's good to hear. That's a great mentality too, man. So with at least $1,300 in your pocket, that's the least you can walk away from in this tournament. But hopefully you'll get that first place prize. I wish you the best of luck, and congratulate you on your win today. So, MaNa.
Woo!
I guess any final words before we kick you off and end the stream here, or?
Yeah, I wanted to thank you guys for hosting this and shout out to TING for supporting StarCraft 2. I've been talking a little bit to TING Jesse on the Twitch chat as you could see. I think it's great to have. Yeah, it's very good to see new companies supporting StarCraft. So hopefully more to come. And once again, I'm looking forward to the fan support. Cheer for me and see you guys on Wednesday.
All right, good luck, man. Practice hard, and we'll see you then.
Thank you. Bye, guys.